I'm going to confirm right now that if you become a nun, that is sort of a sacrament of holy orders, because that's bad on me to not know that.
What about deacons?
Deacons, for sure, that's a holy order. Do nuns receive holy orders? Solemn religious vows?
Surely. In the same way, like, it's like you marry the church almost, right? Or something? Is that a good analogy?
Okay. Interesting. There is a webpage, U.S. Catholic. Okay, yeah, so it is, nuns do not receive the sacrament of holy orders. It says right here.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. So we talk about that later
just
on.
Just verified that.
Yeah, forgive us. Welcome to the Gospel Truth.
I'm Dean.
And I'm Audrey, and this week we are celebrating the 30th Sunday of Ordinary Time.
Now, that's definitely one to get excited about.
Yeah.
It's like 30th, Big 3-0.
The Big 3-0.
Wow.
Steph Curry Sunday.
Okay, Steph Curry Sunday.
Can
that
I say
works.
That?
I guess you could say that.
How many ordinary times on?
I think we got like 32 or 33 ordinary time.
Yeah, almost done with ordinary time, and we're going to be creeping our way into Advent and then Christmas.
Yes.
Very exciting.
Almost done with that liturgical year.
I know. Just flew by, huh?
Yeah, it did.
So this week we want to focus on this idea and theme of courage and the joy it brings when you have the courage to answer God's calling.
Okay.
But before we do that, do you want to remind everyone what the Gospel Truth is about?
Of course. So the Gospel Truth is all about Audrey and I sharing our thoughts about the faith, the word, happenings in the church. Hopefully by doing that, we can understand our own faith a little bit better, and maybe you, the viewers, can get something out of it as well.
Yeah.
So in our readings TLDR this week, I wanted to focus on a couple of big themes that show up throughout the reading. In the first reading from Jeremiah saying, "Shout with joy, exult at the head of the nations, proclaim your praise and say, the Lord has delivered his people." And you're basically just like thanking God because of all the great things that he has done for the people of Israel. Mm-hmm. Like he has brought them back to the promised land, all of this great stuff. All right, so shout with joy. Psalm continues with that theme.
Yeah.
The Lord has done great things for us. We are filled with joy. You know that song? The Lord has done great things for us. We are filled with gladness and joy. Yeah. That one. I like how we were trying to figure out what key we were on at the start.
Yeah, I just was like,
yeah, but that one,
yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
and God has done many great things for us, which is why we're so happy. We're so joy-filled.
Yeah.
But I really want to focus on the gospel because that's sort of the essence of our theme today.
Yeah.
And so it's a great story. We have Bartimaeus. And I like that he's named in this gospel because you know who he is. He has an identity, but he's blind. And he hears that Jesus is going to be, crossing by him. And so he starts calling out, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." And a lot of people around him were like, be quiet. It says here, many rebuked him, telling him to be silent.
You're like, shh.
It's like, shh.
Who do you think you are?
It's like, who do you think you are? Like, it's not worth Jesus' time, is kind of what I'm getting
Jesus
from this.
Busy.
Like, he's busy doing his own stuff.
Yeah.
But he continues calling out, "Son of David, have pity on me." And so Jesus is like, all right, call him up. And so everyone around is like, all right. And this is my favorite line in the reading. Everyone else is now saying to him, "Take courage, get up, Jesus is calling you." And Jesus straight up asks him, "What do you want me to do for you?" And the blind man says, "Master, I want to see." And of course, that salvation, that redemption, that beautiful miracle, Jesus says, "Go your way, your faith has saved you." And he regains his sight. And before we dive into that whole idea of courage, I think it's important to kind of think of what could have happened if he didn't have that courage.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if he had sort of gotten scared right at the end and just been like, "Oh no, Jesus actually
wait,
is
you're really
going to come talk to me?" And imagine not having had that miracle occur because you're scared. You kind of back out at the last second.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. I love that whole
he just
take
was
courage.
Okay, let me tell you what I want.
Yeah.
You're asking me. I know it's not the same, but I think about it every time I go to a concert or maybe see a celebrity, I really always want to call them out and meet them. But I think maybe a good percentage of the time I do that, and then maybe they hear me and I'm like, wait.
And then you're scared and you back out.
Yeah, and I'm like, never mind. And then I'm always like, shoot, I wish I talked to them or whatever. But No, it's not the same. But
yeah, I mean, to be fair, Jesus was kind of a celebrity in his time.
very
Like,
true.
a lot of people, there was a lot of fervor around him because they were trying to figure out who is this person that's performing these miracles. So yeah, I can definitely understand if someone got sort of starstruck when they saw Jesus around
yeah,
this
and
time.
it's like, oh, you're talking to me and you're asking me what I want. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but really beautiful, like, story here. I love the visuals you kind of get by like just reading it. Take courage, get up. And he's like, okay, let me tell you. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, this theme of courage, right? I mean, we always say, like, week after week, I think we're always like, good things are always in store for us. Like, good things await us if we work hard for it, if we are willing to step up to the challenge. But again, like, you know, good things are in store for us. Like, I mean, we see it in the readings. They're just like, you, like, shout with joy, filled with joy, you know, tongue rejoicing, mouths filled with laughter. And only do you get there if you have the courage to, you know, to answer Jesus' call when he calls you.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, right? Is that, you know, if we do all the right things and sort of follow Jesus's plan or God's call for, or God's, you know, God's commandments,
Yeah.
good things are in store for us. But one of the things that might sort of go unnoticed or might get glossed over is like, do we actually have the courage to accept those good things?
Yeah.
Once the table is laid for us.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? And so it's kind of interesting because sometimes we might receive those calls. And like that call is like that, oh, it's like about to happen. All of these good things are about to happen for you. But sometimes you might not necessarily be able to make that final step. You've done everything right. All of the table's laid for you. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you kind of cower a little bit.
Yeah, right. And you kind of like, you lose confidence for whatever reason, or you're just like, maybe, like, you kind of create these narratives in your head and you do some mind gymnastics and you're like, maybe this isn't the call.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking for a specific call. And I know we've talked about this before where we think like signs from God will come in a certain way, but they never do almost, right? It's, you always have to have an open mind and just accept the signs that come if you're willing to interpret it and have an open mind about them.
Yeah. And so one of the things, I guess one of the most obvious examples of maybe a calling that we may want to answer is related to the sacraments.
Yeah.
Right? Those lovely and those beautiful 7 sacraments that are available to us that are those symbols of God's love. You know, maybe because so many of us might be in different stages of our spiritual development, there's a chance that some of you watching this right now might have only been baptized or have had your first communion, but maybe not have had your confirmation yet, or haven't gone through those rites of initiation.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe you kind of just, maybe you've been baptized, you had not confirmation, communion and reconciliation, and then that's kind of it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, everyone is at it, like you mentioned, at a different stage in your life. And so maybe, you know, think about like this calling you may have to do like confirmation, right? And confirmation is special. I think we talked about this before because it's kind of like you kind of have your own mind and you're an adult and you can make decisions for yourself and you can kind of like be a little cognizant of the signs that come, and it's something you opt into.
Yeah.
And
it's like
so
that voluntary.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. And so when maybe you're having some like a calling to kind of like finally take that step to complete confirmation or RCIA?
Yeah, like the RCIA, that's sort of the church's, the rite of Christian initiation for adults.
Oh, yeah.
And so
beautiful.
That's where you can get all of those sacraments. Like maybe you're just baptized and haven't even had the joy of being able to experience God's forgiveness through reconciliation or communion. That RCIA program that a lot of churches will offer is just so great because you get everything, and you get that baptism on Easter.
Oh,
and
it's so beautiful when like on Easter Vigil when the light turns on and everyone sings Hallelujah for you, and it just makes me, I cry every year.
It's great.
And it's beautiful. I think even more beautiful when you're like an adult.
Yes.
And you opt in and you make the conscious decision to commit, you know, your life and your spirituality and your religion to the Catholic Church and to God. I think that's so beautiful when you do that as an adult.
And then let's say you're confirmed, right?
Yeah.
There's still other sacraments out there. Those sacraments, like, I don't know what they're called necessarily, but they're kind of your vocations, right? The Sacrament of Matrimony. I love this sacrament because that means I have now been bonded, sealed with my beautiful wife for life. And that's a vocation too, and that's such a beautiful
and it's
sacrament.
Calling. Maybe your calling is to commit your life to your partner.
And grow a family with that person.
Yeah.
And maybe some of you are still discerning, and maybe holy orders, right? Like becoming a priest.
Yeah.
Or becoming a nun. It's like a nun sacrament too.
Yeah,
That's not good for me to not know that. But
sorry, but you know, there are different callings.
Orders.
Like people, like there are people who become deacons, people who like they don't have to just be sacraments, right? There are callings where you can like dedicate your life to a lot, like dedicate a huge part of your life to your religion, your spirituality.
Yeah.
And it happens in all shapes or forms, and it can happen throughout any stage of your life, no matter where you are in your journeys, right?
Exactly.
And that's the obvious. Those are the obvious like challenges, right? And you know, if we have the courage to answer these callings, like good things will come, right? But what about like the not so obvious?
Right. Like,
you know, what if you feel like, oh, but I've been confirmed, I'm married, or like, I don't know, but maybe you want something that, I don't know, might not be so obvious.
Yeah, so like let's say, for example, there are some things in our church that we might be called to do, like potentially serve in a ministry. Like maybe there are some friends that might be a part of like the Eucharistic ministry or the lector ministry, or might be singers in the church.
Yeah, or a youth group.
Or in part of the youth
could
group.
Also like use a lot of support too. Like they could like don't confine yourself to thinking like it's just like the sacraments or holy orders. I mean, there are other ways in which you can relate this week's themes to just like your everyday life too. Like how many times have we had just that nagging feeling where it's like I really feel like I want to take this venture, take this leap into doing this thing, and I feel like it would be really good for me, and I'd be a happier person, I'd be a better person overall, and everyone around with me would be great because like I'm in a good spot, and you're a little nervous to just take that leap, right? Like that can also be an example of your everyday life.
Yeah, and that's basically what's that saying in the gospel: have courage.
Yeah.
Right? It is kind of a leap of faith, right? A lot of people have sort of that nagging feeling, but maybe kind of get caught in, you know, things are comfortable, or, you know,
yeah, you get a little complacent.
Yeah, that complacency.
Yeah.
And so, you know, just to give you an example from my own life, like a lot of you already know I'm a teacher, but I wasn't always a teacher. And so there was a point where I wanted to transition, where I had like this nagging feeling. I was like, you know what, I'm not really sure that what I'm doing right now is necessarily something that I want to keep doing forever.
Yeah.
Right? And kind of took that leap of faith, that courageous leap of faith, and kind of became a teacher. And well, I'm super happy now. I kind of feel like I'm doing what I'm meant to do, and it is one of the most rewarding careers that I could.
And you have like an impact on like young minds and hearts, right?
Exactly.
And like that's a beautiful thing as well. Like if you, I'm sure having impacts like that can only do good, right? And only good can come from it. So yeah, things like that, right? Like it's something that's applicable like to any part of your life, no matter how old you are, what stage you are in life, what you're going through. And so we just really think it'd be good this week to challenge yourself, to really think about I don't know, just really think about challenging yourself. Yeah,
and be willing to answer that call, to have the courage to answer the call when it comes to you.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a sign to, you know, just take a leap of faith, or, you know, or answer this nagging calling that you've been feeling, like maybe you've been wanting to help support your church in some way and support the youth group, sing, read, you know, think about other vocations, like do you want to get married? Be confirmed. Like this is a good time to reflect, and maybe this is your sign.
Yeah.
And really reflect on the readings this weekend, and know that like on the other side of like having the courage to answer that calling is just it's a bunch of joy.
You'll be able to see like the blind man could see, right?
Yeah. Yep. You will see in new ways that you never would have imagined.
I like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So thank you again for your time this week. And we look forward to connecting with you all next week.
All right. See ya.
Bye.